Which country believes in God the most and least? The report released from the National Opinion Research Center in the University of Chicago, the Philippines, a predominantly Catholic nation, was found to have the highest percentage. 84% of the people who know God really exists had no doubt about it. Where East Germany, 52% of the people didn't believe in God. West Europe was high in atheism. Among Americans, 81% say they have always believed in God, compared to just 37% in Great Britain, 85% in Japan, 13% in the former East Germany. 61% of Americans say they know God exists, while only 3% identified themselves as non-believers. Japanese people actually were spiritual people. They're not religious people, but they're spiritual people. They have a belief in a lot of different types of deities. Richard Chung, an executive director of Japanese Evangelical Missionary Society, JINS, the biggest hindrance to Christianity in Japan, Japanese people who travel to the United States or Australia are more likely to become Christians while abroad. Chun says because they are removed from their culture. Often these Christians return to Japan and they see themselves as catalysts or changed in their homeland. When asked if they believe in God, who concerns themselves with every human being personally, 92% of the people from the Philippines said they did, as compared to just 24% of the people in Japan and 68% of Americans. There's anti-Jewish sentiment in Canada, and it remains very high at this time. Don't say I've been using hate or I'm a bigot. I want to tell you, for one thing, I'm not. And I have not been using hate speech at all. And I'm not prejudiced. It's funny how people call me names and say that they can say whatever they want to me because I'm a Christian. It's not hate speech for them. But when I start talking about Yahweh God or Jesus Christ, it's hate speech to them because I'm talking about the Bible. Isn't that a little strange? But anyway, you, my friend, are a liar because you're looking for attention and you're not going to get it from me because I'm going to block you because I don't debate and I don't argue because the Word of God tells me not to do either. In the League of Human Rights, and I hope I say this correctly, in the B'nai B'rith Canadians annual audit has been recognized for the past 30 years as an alternative study for patterns of prejudice in the country, with appalling instances of harassment, vandalism, and even violence. The CEO of B'nai B'rith Canada, for 30 years after the enactment of the Chapter of Rights of Freedoms, they have continued to see rocks being thrown at the synagogue, the school windows, death threats via social media. It's visible that Jews are being taunted and physically assaulted on their route to their home, places of worship, and even young Jewish girls' hair have been set on fire. This is hate, this is prejudice, and this is bigotry. And yes, they have hate speech thrown at them. Reading scriptures and definition is not hate speech. This is my freedom, my right, as well as you protesting in the streets and calling me names. But I also have the right on my channel to block you. California against pro pro-heterosexual counseling. A legal group is calling a proposed California bill one of the most outrageous, speech-chilling bills seen. This is called Senate Bill 1172, which would remove the ability for psychologists, therapists, and counselors to aid clients in sexual orientation. This could chain effects has passed in the first committee hearing. Now, Brad Dacus of the Pacific Justice Institute, PTI, says that the passing of this bill requires a new consent form for adults, which contains settlements about sexual orientation about counselors that many counselors would dispute. The professionals who continue SOCE orientation that many counselors would dispute. The professionals would continue SOCE would be penalized under that measure. Why? It would only give stark penalties and liberties against counselors and psychiatrists attempting to assist adults wanting to ask for therapy regarding sexual orientation issues. But it outright bans and prohibits anyone under the age of 18 to have pro-heterosexual counseling or therapy when they are struggling with their sexual orientation. Dacus summarizes, worse yet, if parents are caught being unsupportive of their child's preconception of homosexuality in any way, then it deems abuse for that parent under this statute and grounds of government to permanently take that child from their parent. This is because sexual confusion youth who experience family rejection face especially serious health risk, according to this bill. So the bill flatly bans SOCE for minors and dispute the wishes of the parents. So PTI points out that the measure craftily leaves out the transgender people because the backers believe that gender is changeable, but sexual orientation is not. The legal group is asking Californians to contact their state senators and voice opposition for this bill. Dacus adds, I can honestly say this is one of the most outrageous, speech-chilling bills he has ever seen in California. And that's saying a lot. His firm accounts that the measure blames those who believe change is possible for gay suicides, guilt, substance abuse, relationship problems, and a host of other ills. According to PJI, even the California Psychiatrists Association will normally embrace LGBT rights. It's opposed to this current form of this bill. Next, hundreds of Christians slaughtered in Nigeria. Imagine that a simple act of going to church on Sunday becomes a perilous one. Well, it was for hundreds of Christians who were killed in a series of attacks in Nigeria. These were Catholics. This is an African nation where members of Muslim jihadists were Boko Haram earlier vowed to eradicate Christianity of any form of it. First happened when people were gathering for worship in two lecture theaters at the University of Kano. So far, 22 people were confirmed to have died that day, while 23 others were injured after bombs were thrown into the building at a round and a gunman fired at the worshippers. The witness said that the offenders first threw an explosive and fired shots as the Christians fled and the gunman chased them, firing erratically. And the organization reported later on Sunday that the gunman opened fire at another church in the northeastern. 5 people including the pastor, was killed in the attack at the Church of Christ in Nigeria building. At least 16 Nigerian Christians at prayer were butchered after Islamists made good on their threats. An early morning attack on a Christian church service in northern Nigeria left at least 16 people dead. The attack follows a string of violent accidents against Catholics in a mainly Muslim north. Gunmen on a motorcycle stormed this university in the city of Kanano Sunday morning during a Catholic Mass held at a Sunday theater hall. The unidentified assailant threw makeshift explosive devices as they traveled from the gates into the theater. They opened fire as people fled again. The university spokesman said 7 people were killed. Eyewitness, however, said the rescue operators were removed at least 18 dead bodies. The security officer suspects that the Islamics insurgent outfitted carried out the attack, and the group, whose name means Western education is a sin, issued a statement last month warning that they would attack all schools, and they are being blamed for killing more than 1,000 people since 2009. And it is bid to overthrow Nigeria's secular government to set up Islamic Sharia law nationwide. So please don't tell me that the white horse is not riding. If this is not him, who is it? When times get tough, the tough get naked. At least that's what this Florida motel owner says as he turns his 32-room property into a potential magnet for nudists. The Faulty Motors Motel is a Cocoa Beach establishment. It is set to go clothing optional May the 1st. After years of declining business and increasing rivalry and other chain motels, and its owner told Florida Today. We look at Isaiah 5:20. Woe to them that call evil good and good evil, and put darkness from light and light to darkness. And then put bitter as sweet and sweet to bitter. And then we look at Psalms 58:2. Know in your heart that you devise injustice, and your hands met out violence to the earth. There was a comment left on my Facebook on this particular article, and it said, I live in Florida, and it seems that we are always in the news for something, but never anything good. God help us. Next article. Ontario, Canada legalizes brothels. Ontario Court to Appeal says prostitutes should be allowed to work safely indoors. The Court of Canada, most crowded province, has given the government a year to rewrite the law of its choices. At the same time, the court said concerns about pests created by the street prostitution are real, having a profound impact on the members of the surrounding community. So, it upheld a ban on soliciting for purpose of selling sex. Prostitution itself is not legal in Canada, but pimping and operating brothel, be in contact with the proposed of selling sex were considered criminal acts. A lower court ruled in 2010 that prostitution laws were unconstitutional, or they contributed to dangers faced by prostitutes. In Leviticus 19:29 we read, do not prostitute thy daughter, nor cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom, and the land become fall of wickedness. Judgment too is falling upon your land, Canada, as it is the United States.